Have you ever wondered if Scooby-Doo once crossed paths with someone real? Not a celebrity guest star, not a campy cameo, but an actual paranormal investigator? Imagine an episode that blurred the line between Saturday morning cartoon fun and the chilling world of true hauntings. Now imagine that episode never aired. Its storyboard stuffed into a drawer, its concept art yellowing with age, and its memory whispered only among animators who still shiver when they talk about it. The story begins the way most ghost stories do. Not with a bang, but with a shadow. Close your eyes for a moment and picture it. The hum of a dusty projector in a Warner Brothers studio in the 1970s. A reel of unfinished drawings clicking through one by one. You see Scooby and the gang as you've always known them. Their bright faces frozen in penciled stills. But then the frame changes. Standing beside Fred, Velma, Daphne, Shaggy, and Scooby is a man who doesn't belong. His coat is long, his eyes sharp, and his presence oddly heavy compared to the cartoon brightness around him. He looks less like a character and more like someone pulled straight from a black and white photograph. That man, according to a handful of surviving notes, was based on Ed Warren. Yes, that Ed Warren, the real-life paranormal investigator whose name would later be tied to some of the most terrifying hauntings in American history. Now pause and think about that. Scooby-Doo, a show built on unmasking fake ghosts, teaming up with someone who claimed to have seen the real thing. It feels almost wrong, doesn't it? Like mixing two chemicals that should never touch. The recovered sketches and notes, leaked quietly through collector circles, tell us the episode was titled The Haunted Manor Mystery. It was supposed to air in 1972, in the middle of Scooby's golden age of Monster of the Week mysteries. But this story wasn't like the others. For the first time, the monster wasn't drawn with exaggerated fangs or glowing eyes. It was subtle, a pale woman in the corner of a room, her hair tangled, her dress faded, her face unfinished, as though the animators themselves were hesitant to give her form. And the setting? Unlike the usual bright, spooky fun houses, this one was grounded. The notes described a crumbling New England farmhouse, its windows boarded, its wallpaper peeling in strips like old skin. The kind of place Ed and Lorraine Warren might have actually stepped into on one of their midnight investigations. But here's the most unsettling part. In nearly every draft, the Scooby Gang does the usual thing. They set traps, pull masks, look for wires. And each time, Ed's sketch figure stands apart. His notes in the margins read things like, "They laugh, but I hear crying in the walls." Or, "Not all masks can be pulled off." For a children's cartoon, that's chilling. Imagine being a kid in 1972. You tune in expecting Scooby snacks and pratfalls, but instead, you're shown a story that hints, just barely, that maybe, just maybe, not everything can be explained away. The sensory details in the recovered script pages go further. One storyboard describes Shaggy opening a closet, expecting a costumed villain, only to find nothing but hanging coats. Yet the margin reads, Shaggy should still feel breath on his neck. Another describes Velma, the rational one, staring at a mirror that refuses to show her reflection. A scribbled note. Ed says not to touch it. You can almost feel the air grow heavier, can't you? The faint smell of mildew, the silence pressing in between Scooby's nervous chuckles. It's as though the animators themselves were struggling to balance the bright laughter of a cartoon dog with the weight of true horror. So why was it never aired? The official reason, according to one memo, was that it conflicted with the tone of the series. But insiders suggest something stranger. One animator claimed that during late-night sessions, when they flipped through the storyboard reels, certain frames would flicker, not in the normal way. He said a face, blurred, pale, with hollow eyes, would appear between panels, even when the drawings themselves were clean. Another claimed the tapes of the rough audio were played by faint whispers, words no one had written into the script. Now, maybe these are just exaggerations. Animators pulling each other's legs, spooking new hires with campfire tales in the break room. But then again, this was the 1970s. Ed and Lorraine Warren were real. Their case files were spreading, and the idea of pulling them into pop culture was tempting, dangerously tempting. Think about it. Scooby-Doo is built on the comfort of the reveal. Every monster, no matter how frightening, end with a mask pulled off, a sigh of relief, and a laugh. But to bring in someone who insists the haunting is real, that breaks the spell. It forces us to ask, what if one day the gang pulled the mask and found nothing underneath? And maybe that's why this crossover never made it. Because once you open the door to the real, you can't close it again. Even the concept art carries this eerie duality. Daphne's sketched with her usual charm, holding a flashlight in the dark. Scooby hiding behind Shaggy, trembling, and then beside them, Ed, sketched in dark ink, his posture stiff, his face lined. No comedy in his eyes, no safety in his voice. Just a man who has seen too much. The art collector who first shared these images swears he bought them from a retired animator's estate sale. The papers were stuffed in a manila folder, labeled simply, "Do not use." He described flipping through them as feeling like finding an old family album where some of the faces don't belong. And here's where perspective matters. Maybe this lost crossover was just an experiment, an attempt to capitalize on the rising fame of the Warrens that never fit the show's tone. Or maybe there's a reason the studio buried it. Maybe cartoons are safer when the ghosts are rubber masks and fishing wire. Because the real ones, the ones that claim to see, don't make for tidy endings. So the question lingers. If the gang had stepped fully into Ed Warren's world, would we have still laughed? Or would Scooby's trembling have felt a little too real? The mystery remains locked away. Its drawings pass quietly between collectors like contraband. But the next time you watch an old Scooby-Doo rerun with its harmless ghouls and goofy chases, ask yourself, what if one of those shadows in the background wasn't drawn at all? And maybe, just maybe, that's why we never saw the Haunted Manor Mystery. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed diving into this forgotten corner of cartoon history, don't forget to like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe for more stories that blur the line between the spooky and the nostalgic. Until next time, keep the lights on and keep looking over your shoulder.